is a good thing. Dukalax when you can't.
Yep.
That's it.
Or
For
prunes.
those, yeah, prunes. Well, at our age, hey, a good prune,
Take X-Lax in the
what is,
PM for the BM and the AM.
that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. To me, that's a good day. All right. So let's talk. What's going on? Okay,
Well, I
Greg,
was
ask away.
uh-oh. I was asking Fred about USFL, but Chris has a toy.
Wow, look at that toy.
Yeah,
So,
rescued from the fire, hey?
no, I just got this delivered today. It's I know it's kind of reflecting
What
weird,
is it?
but it is a Earthworks DM6 kick drum microphone. So I just got it, took it over to the studio, and I do not have a ported bass drum. I have, heads on both sides, no holes cut anywhere. So I tried it first on the batter head side, and I mean, it's super accurate. So it's picking up the snare and the buzz of the snares and the bottom of the floor tom, and it's just not cutting it on the, unless you kind of put some ring around it or do something so that you only get the kick sound. So I moved it to the front, and wow, yeah, I mean, it is stunningly accurate. And the biggest takeaway of all is that it sounds the best. Oh, lovely balls, Greg. It sounds the best when you feather, when you're barely hitting the kick drum. I mean, sure, it sounds fine when you give it, a good rock and roll kick. But man, when you're like just gently hitting the bass drum head, it picks up all of those lows, and you can clearly hear it. It's really stunning. Great mic.
Good. Well, congratulations. I'm glad you got something new. It's especially because of where you are and what you've gone through. Is there any update, from our man in the Pacific Palisades? So, is there anything that you have to update with what's happening past
Not
post
much. I mean,
fire?
it's, not really. It's just the same, you know, same, what, different day. So, yeah,
You know
that's
what I
about it.
just heard just before we came online? I was listening to the news, and it says that the insurance companies are now starting to use drone footage of people's houses to make a decision on whether or not they're going to insure you and how much they're going to insure you for. And
Yeah.
like for example, this one woman in Texas is complaining that she had just put on a new roof just only 5 years ago, and the insurance company is saying, we're not going to cover you unless you put on a new roof. And she just put one on.
Yeah. So
So,
just to give you an idea, California Fair Plan, according to, some people that I've been reading, sent out renewal notices. I think I said this last week, but people have received renewal notices, and their fire insurance is going to be $60,000 per annum.
mhm. Well, here's a good question. Do you need to have fire insurance right now if you don't have a house?
No. Okay. So there are a couple of issues with that. One, if you have a mortgage, you're supposed to have fire insurance. So that's a big deal. And then secondly, there are people that are, for whatever reasons, building, traditional wood houses, after it burned down, they're just going to build back another house with the same construction materials that will catch on fire as easily as the one that just burned. So, I mean, my feeling is totally the opposite. I am building an absolutely the most fireproof house imaginable. It'll still look nice and everything will be functional, but it will be completely designed and all of the materials selected to, avoid it burning down again.
Hey,
But some
David
people
Dansky
don't
had
get it.
sent you some information on this new wood. What did you find out about the new wood, and what could you tell us about it?
Oh, I knew about that. There have been a couple of articles. So this company, I think they're out in like Maryland. They just got a round of financing based on that new product, and I haven't heard anything on pricing. But according to the reports, that it is as strong as steel and is highly inflammable, and it looks like natural wood, and it's got a lot of really, really positive aspects. I'm just assuming that it's going to come with an appropriate price tag.
Right.
Now, what is it called? Do they have a name for it yet?
I don't know that they do. I've got a bookmark on it. Let me see.
David, what about you? You sent it to me. Do you have any information on it?
No, but
It's called Invent Wood, and that's about it. It was founded by this guy Yang Hu, and from the University of Maryland, and he, he's taking regular fibrous wood and he's doing something to it and making it stronger than steel and inflammable.
It's sucking all the moisture out.
Hey,
They
Kurt.
They should have named it Impossible Wood.
Impossible wood. Yeah, something that happens to me when I wake up in the morning. Impossible. Anyway, but beside that point, hey, I'm a prostate cancer survivor.
Woo!
What can I say? Yeah, there you go. Hey, listen. Boy, you guys have a lot to look forward to as you grow up, I tell you.
I bet.
That doesn't make me feel any more comfortable.
But anyway, I mean, I'm thinking that's lightweight wood, durable. What a great material for making road cases.
Oh, it obviously it has all sorts of applications. I mean, huge. So the question is, how expensive is it to make, and how much are they going to be charging a linear foot for it? But yeah,
does it burn?
Does not burn.
It says that it's highly, highly fire resistant. So
yeah, basically they take wood and they squeeze it so hard that all the moisture disappears. It becomes really thin, and somehow it's as strong as steel. But I don't know what they actually do to it, but that's the basic idea.
Well, as strong as steel in what way? What's the reference? Like a spider web is as strong as steel of the same diameter.
Tensile strength, I think, and probably what's happening is that they're using a lattice, so they have fibers going one direction and then fibers going another. That typically improves strength. So I'm sure they're doing something like that.
I think in the article it says it's impervious to everything with the exception of kryptonite. That's where it dies, right there. Kryptonite. End the story of the wood. So, Kurt, you in Bend?
Yeah, I'm backstage at Bend.
And who's performing? Is it Sting tonight?
No, we did 2 nights of Sting, Sunday and Monday, and then we had yesterday off. And now it's Krujabin or something. I don't know. I've never heard of them.
But hey, evidently people are going to be coming to see them, so that's a good thing.
Sting was great, and hanging out with Howard Page for 2 days was awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's he doing?
He's great. He
Good.
was super good mood. Did a great job. Loved the PA, and didn't really change anything, or it was great. I was a little nervous because first show of the season with a great like that, but it all went great.
Yeah. Those first shows.
Hey, Kurt, how far are you from Bow, Washington?
We lost.
Oh, Kurt. Goodbye, Kurt.
Well, he's outdoors. He'll be back. In the meantime, Greg. There he is. He's back.
Kurt, did you hear me? No.
No, I didn't.
Well, ask him again, David.
Kurt, how far are you from Bow, Washington?
Bow, Washington?
B-O-W.
I think Bow is kind of like, I think is that Eastern Washington? I've heard it. I just don't know exactly where it is.
Oh, all right. I'm going to be there in October.
Oh, I can look it up. It's not right near Seattle. I don't know if it's on the I-5 corridor or if it's Eastern Washington.
It's north. Oh, yeah, I know where it is. I can't think of it right now.
North by Northwest. That's where Jimmy Stewart met his. Oh no, it's a different movie. Okay. Anyway,
It's
moving on.
it's between Mount Vernon and Bellingham.
Oh, that's up I-5. That's maybe, hour and a half, hour 45 north of Seattle.
All right, well, I'll be there in October if you want to mosey on by.
There you
All right,
go,
who are you with?
friends getting together. I love it. I love it. And by the way, what an opportunity for me to say, welcome to Thinking Out Loud with Friends of SoundBroker. I finally figured it out. This is it. Now we don't have to worry. Now we know who we are. I love the identity. Thinking Out Loud with Friends of SoundBroker. It's like, what a mouthful. What a mouthful. Anyway, moving along, Greg, did you have something to ask someone else in the room? Like for
Well,
Fred, for example?
yeah, I do have something to ask Fred. I wanted to ask Kurt though, since he's here. How did your X80s work out? As both the lathes, were you using them as front fields as well, or no?
No, we've got X40s is front fill, and then one MSL4 on stage left because it's kind of a farther shot that goes slightly up a hill. And then we've got
Could I ask
X80s.
you? Could I ask you to go backwards to go forwards, in regards to what actually is the rig that you have in Bend? You know, start with the front of house and then work your way through it.
Um, well, we have Galaxies and mix switches and all that stuff for drive for stacks or racks, and then I've got a couple different consoles here, most notably the Gamble. It's not in use today. And then it's 12 Panthers aside. The bottom two are W's. And then 6 2100s aside in cardioid. And then the 6X40s for front fills and MSL4 for the offstage left. And then 2 X80s hung on the spotlight towers behind front of house about 25 feet in the air. And those are the lawn fills and VIP fill. Yeah,
And
this
what do
is
you
the first
use
time
them
we've
for
doing
fallback?
Meyer MJF 210s, and we have MSL4s and 900 LFC for side fills. And if I could get the processors, I'll switch to MSL3s for side fills and send the two MSL4s back home.
Very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
Man, that
Greg,
must sound phenomenal.
it does sound phenomenal. And yeah, Greg, we have one per side, and they're the 90. The horns are in the 95 by 50.
Mm-hmm.
So it's perfect. They cover the lawn tremendously well. They sound the same as a Panther. It's essentially the same components, but with one less high frequency driver. But they performed flawlessly. And I also used 4 of them in the round for an event at a casino ballroom. And, I normally would have hung like 4 melodies in every corner. So it's half the weight. It looks better. And, it's one speaker to wire in each corner of the box truss.
Less
And
power
almost
too, right?
a little bit. It also covered almost enough that we didn't need the X40s between them on the. So we did the X80s in the corners. So like 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like that. And then I did X40s at like 12, 3, 6, and 10 as kind
Okay.
of fills. I could have almost gotten away without them, but it made sense to have them there.
Cool.
Oh, very cool. It's a good looking reel. So now what? Now we've heard all of that, which is it's amazing. I mean, that is an amazing rig, and I'm sure everybody who comes to that venue is going to be in for a super treat of how well it sounds. Just how good it sounds.
Yeah,
And
we have
so
a like
congratulations, man.
2/3. We have a 2/3 size of that rig at up in Redmond and Washington too for that series.
Mhm. Now, as far as monitoring, do you have a console there, or does everybody bring their own board?
A lot of it is stacks or racks. Sometimes we mix support. Sometimes we we provide a console for the headliner if they're not carrying. But most people are carrying the headliner control package, and we'll fill in either with just consoles or with us mixing front of house monitors. It kind of depends on the opener.
Yeah, I
Wow.
saw
Well, it's
DL6.
wonderful. Did you get any feedback on, and I hate to use the word feedback, but did you get any comments from Howard regarding the sound of the room?
He loved it. He he brought the faders up with his initial test music and brought it right back down and said, "You've done this before." And he really didn't, he just checked time and he put his mic up and checked tuning and was like, "Sounds great." Didn't
Well,
really do.
congratulations.
He did a little bit of stuff, I think, in his lake, but not. I mean, nothing of any real significance. Just a little bit of personal taste stuff here and there. But he totally understood why we deploy it the way we do and why it's hung low, and it was great. Couldn't have gone any better.
Excellent.
Any
Excellent.
comments on the
Excellent.
X80s?
He loved them. For a hardcore, heavy-duty Claire guy, he was very positive and complimentary of all the Meyer stuff.
Cool.
Well, what's not to be happy about? Meyer just makes
one bad thing to say.
Meyer makes an excellent system, and the way and the way you put it together, it's very impressive what you've done. Really impressive.
Thanks.
So,
Thank you.
congratulations, man. Thanks for being part of our life. Looking forward to it. Actually, I'm looking forward to meeting you in real life. I'm looking forward to meeting you in real life because, just FYI, not next week, but the week after next, I will be back in Las Vegas. So yeah, Bo's got the visa and we are off to Vegas. So I got some interesting news regarding that. So we were looking at tickets, and I remember last week we were talking about the price of airline tickets. Well, obviously, not too many people are coming to the U.S., so the airlines have opened up their mileage program for international tickets. So if you have any mileage that you haven't been able to use for international flying, go up to their websites and you will be surprised. Almost every day on every flight, there's mileage tickets available. And it hasn't been that way in 4 years. So we are flying back to, and here's an interesting story. I wanted to fly on Korean Air, and I looked at the tickets, and they were $2,500 a piece for business class. And so I said, well, I don't know when I want to go, thinking about it, and so I didn't buy them. The next day I went up and looked again, and those tickets went from $2,500 each, all the way up to $3,150 in one night. $3,150 in one night. So I did a Google Flight. So there's two things that you should look at: Skyscanner and Google Flights. Those are two great sites for pricing. And I saw on Google Flights that American Airlines had some flights using Japan Airlines. So as a fluke, I went up to the American Airlines site, clicked mileage, and lo and behold, I was able to buy a flight for only 70,000 points, considering that 4 years ago it was 210,000 points. So it's a good deal. And so anyway, we'll be back in the U.S. on the 9th. So there you go. Anyway,
How
long are you staying?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Gregory.
Well, the visa is good for 180 days, but I don't believe we're going to be there. I'd like to stay there about a couple of months, and of course it's in the heat of the summer, so we'll probably get out and do some traveling.
Trying to see Robert at the Sphere when you're going to be in Vegas?
Well, I've already been to the Sphere, and we might go back. I hear that, by the way, a bunch of us are also in Robert Scoville's back lounge room, and I hear he just knocked it out of the park over there with Kenny
Fred
Chesney.
was
I hear
there
he
at
just
opening.
It was
oh yeah,
absolutely
Fred,
awesome.
talk about it. Let's hear about it.
It was
Let's hear
absolutely
about
awesome. I've never listened to Kenny Chesney. I don't know any of the words to any of the songs. I walked in as a complete newbie into this thing, and I was blown away. I mean, the 18K video in that building is just something to admire, and what they did to put together the show. I have no idea how they were able to change the video sources in all of the boxes that were flying around the building. Different camera shots. I think they had like 5 cameras. There was handheld, a jib, and at least 2 or 3, 4 robotic cameras. And they were all in sync. That was the other thing. I was amazed at how dead on the lip sync was for the sound being that far away and having that much of a throw. But the visuals were just yeah, and I went back the next day to see the movie. So I got to see opening night of Kenny Chesney on Thursday, and I went back on Friday to see pictures. Um, the
Postcards of
storyline is
Earth.
kind of weird, but the visuals were just stunning. The place is well worth the money. It was a little pricey, but well worth the money.
Yeah, it's
What's the price per
in the
friend?
cheap seats. It's like $160 something a movie. But the reality is, it's like looking out of a car window. That's what it is. It's like looking out of the window. It's not immersive where you feel you're in it. It looks like you're on like a roller coaster ride, or you're in a moving car, because the video is always moving. It's
Right.
it's spectacular. It's
Yeah.
spectacular, especially in regards to when they show the elephants. That was
Oh,
like, and the
and you get all the
dinosaurs. It was like,
haptics. You get the haptics in the seats and everything with the low end. Oh my God. Yeah, it's like what's that ride at Disneyland that they puts you in the thing and then it takes you and it shoves you up into the screen so you have this full sense around kind of thing, and then you get this
Sorry.
mist.
Yeah.
What's that called?
Flying over
Sorry.
California or something like
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like that, except you're not in a ride where it puts you up in
Yeah.
there. You're just sitting in your seat. It didn't have the smells and the stuff that particular one does, but the haptics with the seats when when the elephants, especially the elephants, oh my God, they just rattled you to the core.
yeah, and that's what it stood out in my mind. And not only that, they have the ability to introduce smell into the room and wind. So when I don't know if you were in the seats where you could feel the wind blowing with the elephants, it was pretty amazing. And the
Yeah, no,
smell, it's pretty amazing.
people told me that there was supposed to be the smells and the other stuff. All there was for me was the seat haptics. I didn't get any of the
Oh.
mist. I didn't get any of the smells, but they people told me that it was like a 4D ride.
I
But
had that, but it was just the old person behind me passing gas. A lot of wind and smell. It was just really, oh,
well, Mary Jo said that when she went, it was all she could smell was the cheese on top of tacos and the hype.
oh my God.
She said it was
Yeah.
terrible.
I bet you were in culture shock when you bought a bottle of water. The expense of that is just amazing. I mean,
No,
it's not a cheap place.
I did not buy anything. Actually, on opening night, I bought a double vodka cranberry when I walked in. Went over to see Robert and Mary Jo, and then I went and sat in my seats until about the next to the last song, and then I went back and hung out with Robert and Mary Jo for the last couple of tunes, and then we all just kind of stood around, talked for a little bit, and the next morning we went to breakfast at someplace I've never been to before. Not Pinterest. What was it? Some started with a P. You
Oh
probably
well,
know.
there's so
Peppermill.
many restaurants there. But what's that place? Is it the
Peppermill. Sorry, Peppermill is what it
Peppermill?
was.
Oh,
Oh
the
yeah.
Peppermill is amazing.
It
Peppermill's
was
amazing.
amazing.
The Peppermill, it's a standalone building on Las Vegas Boulevard. They've offered those people millions and millions and millions of dollars to buy that land so that they could build the high-rise hotel, and they refused to sell.
Oh,
So
so
it's a unique thing in that respect.
they're like the old people in Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And did you walk into the lounge by any chance? Did you get a chance to look at the? It's the most schmaltzy Las Vegas place you could imagine.
No,
It's
I
like,
didn't.
fire pits, and it's like a great place to take a date if you're dating prostitutes. It's
That's
amazing, I'll
what
tell you.
that's what my Uber driver said. He said that it's a good place to go take a date. I did not go in there, but I did get there a little early because and luckily I got there. We were going to meet at 11. I got there at 10:30, and there was a 30-minute wait. So right
Yeah.
when Robert and Mary Jo walked in the door, they called our names. So
Yeah. Well, the trick is to do that, to get somebody to volunteer to go early or sit at the counter. And but it's always packed. It's always packed because
oh
the amount of food that you get for the money is amazing.
yeah, it's like
It's
going
amazing.
to what's that other place that's like that? Wayne, you know I'm talking about the place over on the west side that you get served ridiculous amounts of food.
Cheesecake Factory.
Well, not that one, but there's another one. Not Black Bear Diner, but there's I can't think of the name of it right now. But everybody says that you go there, you just order one meal between 3 people. You get so much food.
So I
Well, the Heart
discovered
Attack Cafe is like that as well, where that if you could eat all of the food on that hamburger, then it's free. And you also get a free ride to the hospital in the ambulance
Oh, that's
as
like the
well.
old, like the Farrell's ice, or was it Farrell's or Fuddruckers or somebody had the ice cream that you could do that if you ate the trough. You got
They had
Yeah.
Farrell's ice cream. I remember that, the trough, and yeah, they used to have a bass drum, and we had all of our birthday parties at Farrell's ice cream. Yeah.
Hmm. Hey, but let's go back to the Kenny Chesney show. So, how did you let's see, how do I put this in regards to the sound? Let's talk, because you talked about the video, you talked about how the lips were in sync with the video, but tell me about the sound, because Robert spent a lot of time on it. How immersive was it?
He spent a lot of time on it. It wasn't as immersive as I thought it was going to be. And we kind of talked about it at breakfast the next day. It's just because of the propagation delay and how far away you are from everything. You can't really throw a lot up in stereo. And then when he did the effects and the things that were up and above and around you, that was cool. But for the most part, you're looking where the stage is, and that's where the sound was coming from. So, however wide that stage is, 75 feet across or whatever, the sound took up that space of the screen. So it almost appeared to be mono to me, but it wasn't, until they went into the fun things where he was throwing things around the room. But yeah, I like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and he only used the haptic thing right in the very beginning. And I asked him about it. I said, "Did you trigger that?" And he goes, "No, somebody else must have done that." But in the opening video, there was one time where they hit the bass drum, and everybody in our row jumped. it was amazing. But yeah, I thought it was worth it. Being, usually when I go to a concert, you're usually high, and you're into the band, and you're singing along, and you're not really listening to it. But being as I'd never heard him before, I sat there quietly with my hands folded and just took it all in, and it was just stunning. It was just stunning. That's all I
Now,
can
what
say.
about the audience? What about his audience? Because that's what filled the room. I'm sure there was a few looky-loos like yourself there for the experience, but I'll bet most of those people were there. Was there a lot of singing along?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. The place was like I said, he killed it. And all the articles that have been coming out that I've been seeing, and stuff, that he's the first country act that's been in there, and he just, it started out kind of slow, but by the second or third song, he didn't really need to sing. The whole audience was singing all the words for him. So it was pretty incredible.
Yeah, I had
Okay.
my younger cousin Julie and her husband flew in from Chicago, and they were there Saturday night. And she had called me ahead of time, and I told her where to sit. So she was sitting right above Robert, like she could have spat at him and hit him in the back of the neck. And
Nice.
and she said it was just unbelievable. And they said that a lot of times the crowd drowned out the PA because they were all
Really?
just singing along.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
All the words.
I never noticed that where I was sitting. And it's such a big room.
Right.
I could imagine that there were times to do that, but they came close, but they never drowned out the PA. He was hitting. I watched over and looked at his RTA. He was hovering 97, 99 most of the night, dB in the room. So it was right there.
So cool.
Yeah.
Now,
wish
was
I
he
had the
using the
box.
hollow plot speakers, or was he using what was the configuration in the room as far as sound goes?
It's all hollow plot.
It's all holopod. Yeah, you have to use their system. The thing that I found interesting was how many steps it had to get through to get there. It had to go from Maddie to Dante to Ravenna. It had to use like 3 different coding
Protocols.
protocols just to get the sounds to the speakers, it's crazy.
Why can't we get along?
Well, I mean, obviously they did. I mean, they all played nice with each other, but why do you need 3 different streams to go from a desk to the speaker system? It didn't make any sense to me. But
Well, is
and
it
then of course you
possible?
have to, and then of course you have the Lao board. Their board, the in-house board, is in line, so
Right.
everything goes to the Lao, and then the Lao spits it out.
Is it possible that because the hollow plots are able to output multiple outputs? Like, for example, in the example when you went to go see the film, they give you an example of how the hollow plot speaker works. So you stand in one section and you hear English, one section you hear Spanish, one section you hear German, or whatever the language is that, but they could pump out 3 different outputs from the same lot of speakers. Is that possible? Why they have to go through that different gyration?
That's not the
No, I
speaker.
think it's just because
the
it's
zoning and coverage.
the whole
What was that?
the whole venue is broken into 64. So I'd like to I didn't get to talk to Robert technically about it, but hopefully in the back lounge he'll talk more about it and kind of give a breakdown of how it's laid out. But everything leaves his desk is 64 stems essentially. So however that breaks up in that room, I guess that you could. They talked about being able to do per seat language. Seems to me that'd be kind of tough because the guy told me that place holds 20,000 people.
Yeah.
They only when they do the movie, they only sell the center sections, so it's only like 5,000 people on the movie days. But for the concert, he said the place holds like 20,000. So if you take 64 and divide it into 20,000, I don't know how you can do a per seat.
Yeah, not that close.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. But who knows?
Well,
Kurt,
just remember everything you hear today
explanation.
is an opinion, so do your own research. Greg, go ahead. What was that?
I heard Kurt throwing in an explanation about something. Kurt, would you mind repeating that?
I think that, I mean, I haven't been there, but my understanding is the language demo thing is to show how tightly they can control the coverage. It isn't that any speaker is putting out 3 different signals at the same time in 3 different languages. It's that they can zone it so tightly that you can have English in one place and French in another and Japanese in a third. And it would seem impossible because of how adjacent they are. But no speaker is doing multiple inputs at the same time. They're just demonstrating the zone control they can achieve.
Yeah, but I think if they were going to do that again, it would be like they did for the movie. They limit the seating to only a certain amount of seats. That way they can focus that energy to specific seats or specific groups of seats.
Well, when you do the tour of before the movie, like I said, they gave a demonstration of how they could break it out, and there is a little leakage from your zones, but not that much, and it's an impressive system from that standpoint of view.
Where did you see that?
In the Sphere.
No, I know, but when I went in, I just got to listen to the robots, the AI robots talk to people, but I never got the demonstration of what you're talking about.
It was right there.
Yeah, after you walk through the robots, then they go into the demonstration of the hollow plot.
Somebody needs to get a high def recording of bagpipes and focus it on Robert so it's all you can hear.
That would be appropriate. I know
that would be awesome.
In the Subaru booth that I do when I do their press conferences, for 2 or 3 times the booth went out, the CT brought out some hollow plots, and they had like a little campfire, and so one of the speakers was sort of shooting the sound of a campfire flame, at the actual campfire, and then they had another one where they had a like some awards or something, a little display case, and they had some dialogue talking about the award, sort of shooting at that. I thought that it was definitely more intense, but it's not like you're cutting a razor line when you walk through it.
Right.
There's still some amount of spill.
Yeah, there's always going to be a
So
little bit of spill.
Yeah. That's exactly what I said. That there was some overfill of, or what I would say is that you could hear that when you're standing in one zone and you move to the side of the zone, getting ready to go just to the next zone, you can hear the overfill. You could hear that other.
Yeah,
So
I'd be willing to bet that the EAW, the Anya systems could do the same thing if you were to hang multiple columns of that, because the hollow plot is nothing but a bunch of little tiny speakers in a box, and they're
The
little
whole
cubes.
thing is you couldn't hang enough. There's not enough, EAW Anyas that could fill that space.
No, but I'm just saying with its directionality. I mean, especially because I went to the school, the EAW school, I was 2 days about showing us all about how that thing worked. And when they pointed it straight down, you couldn't hear anything in the room until you walked literally dead underneath the hang, and it was perfect.
Yeah, the Meyer Cal array works the same way. When you go through the Meyer demo at the factory and they take you into the Cal, they got this whole room, it's a long rectangular room, and they can move it around to wherever you go. They tell you to walk over there, and then you don't hear it at all, and then you hear it.
Right.
Well,
they took at one point, they threw it over our heads on the back wall because the back wall was all glass. The guys could stand up there giving a demo, and we could all hear him. And all of a sudden, the sound went away, and it was coming from behind us because he threw it above our heads.
Yeah.
It was bouncing off the glass and coming back.
Yeah.
Or when
Kurt,
we went over to the
Cal-
football stadium. Football stadium, we were up in the grandstands and you could hear it, and then they would direct it all down onto the field. And you walk down the field and you could hear it, and then they would put it back up in the stands, and you couldn't hear it anymore.
Yeah, but that's vertical. I don't think you can do that horizontally. You can do it vertically.
Oh no, they did the whole football stadium because it's in one end zone.
Yeah, but when you're talking about moving the sound, I don't think it goes left and right from one speaker column. I think it just goes up and down.
No, yes, you're correct. It goes up and down.
Plus, the hollow plot is, I think, by section. So
it is.
This section German and that section whatever. You've got an aisle in the middle for the bleed through, and it's one speaker with one input. They don't put three languages in one speaker.
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Three speakers.
Absolutely.
Right.
But you also have to remember that the inside of the sphere is a curve, whereas the Anya hangs straight, or a line array is a J, so it goes the other way. This one, it's like you're looking at it from the inside, right? You're
concave
looking
versus convex.
Correct.
Right.
I believe the hollow plots actually have 4 inputs and 8 outputs or something like that. They're not just single input boxes. They do have multiple inputs.
Yeah.
But
if I remember correctly, I think Ken Porter, didn't Holoplot come to you and give you a demonstration? Or am I imagining that?
He didn't come to me. I saw him place. They've done the stuff, the Beacon Theater in New York. I've seen it there. It's around. The question I want to know is, if you can get German and French next to each other, can you still change it into music? So if you have the music mix and then you change the vocal into a different language.
I think you can.
While you have the same music in bed, so if you mixed it with a stereo or a mono music mix, whatever, and then did separate vocals.
Yeah, it'd have to be separate vocals. I mean, it'd be, obviously that's a track where you have one track with one language, 2 language, and 3 language. But
maybe you can get Celine Dion to do that, because I believe she can sing in all those languages.
Yeah, she can sing in French at
not
least.
simultaneously.
Well, you never know. Maybe you can get Terry Fader to do that, or what's that guy that does I'll kill you. What's that guy's name? Ahmed.
Ahmed, the comedian.
The other thing that part of that chain is Space Map Go is part of that chain coming out. The Meyer Space Map Go is all part of that equation that allows you to place your object when
all the movement is Space Map Go and Dimitri.
Right. There you go.
Dimitri.
I thought
So
he
I
was
guess if you're
only.
using Dmitry, yeah, if you need Russian there too as well. There you go. Hello, everybody. Here we are. Hey, who
I
gets
thought he.
blown
I
up?
thought.
Me. Hey.
I thought Robert was only using the Space Map Go. He was explaining to me because he didn't have his near field speakers on, and I said, "Do you use those in here?" And he goes, "Yeah, I use those so I don't have to walk around the building. This deal over here will let me hear anywhere I want to be in the building based on the time, and it's got a picture and it's got all these things, and so you don't have to literally walk the building. You could stand there and know what the sound's going to be like based on the algorithm. It's pretty
Is anybody
cool.
else
Yeah.
hearing a ton of static right now?
You're breaking up, Kurt.
You're breaking up there, but you're in the field, so we give you the latitude and longitude to break
You
up.
don't hear static? I hear static.
I'm hearing Christopher's mic open. He's talking to his family.
Oh, is that what it
Can you
is? Let
mute
me close
Christopher?
it. Yeah, there it is. He's muted.
There, now he's muted.
Try it again, Kurt.
Now, Kurt, you could try it.
I just hear a bunch of static still, like someone's got a loose cord or something.
Yeah, you're breaking up really bad to us.
Yeah, I think it's on your end, but it's okay. We still love you. You know. But I really think Holoplot is like, it's like a gimmick. I don't see that taking over from our industry. I don't see that. Well, we're going out with a Holoplot rig, on Bruce Springsteen, or we're not taking, Taylor Swift is not going to use a Holoplot system on the road.
I don't think
It's
so
just
either.
it
Well,
seems
first
to
off,
me it's like
nobody
it's a
is.
gimmick.
Holoplot isn't.
Well-
MSG has taken Holoplot off the market, and it's only going to be exclusively for their venues.
Right, I read that
Yeah.
in an article recently.
Yeah, but the problem is that it's a gimmick. At this point in time, to me,
wouldn't
it's
say
a gimmick.
that on a Thursday, Jan. I really wouldn't say that on a Thursday Zoom call.
Well, fortunately for me, everything here you hear today is an opinion, and I am entitled to my opinion. Do your own research there, my friend. Do your own research.
Fine.
Yes.
Go ahead and say that tomorrow, and I'll just sit back, listen.
That's right. I got to get up early again to do this. Oh, well. Anyway, hey, listen, didn't you want to talk about what were you talking about early before we went live?
Fred. Yeah. Fred, USFL.
Yes, I got to actually attend and be at my first USFL game. I never watched one, never heard one. Again, 2 weekends in a row. It was kind of cool. I'd never done a USFL game before, and I never heard of Kenny Chesney before, other than the name.
Yeah.
But yes, it was a football game with excuse my language, a shit ton of microphones.
Yeah.
And
a shit ton of microphones.
A
We
shit
already
ton of
know
microphones.
if you listen to an old show, you'll know exactly how much a shit ton is. So
Exactly.
thank you, Chris, for giving it to us. But tell us about it. So what was it like? What was going on?
Just
How
so
many
everybody,
prep tons is that?
just so everybody understands that those shows are basically a Remy. So they're all mixed by my friend Michael Del Tufo. Actually, he was actually mixing the show on the Pico Fox lot in Los Angeles. So I'm just a submixer, right? So I'm feeding him. Each team had 6 wireless microphones on various players. So whatever the offensive line was up, I would have the quarterback mic open all the time, and then I would kind of either fill it in with the Brab mics or the Skycam mic, because sometimes it was close by. But basically, that was my assignment, was to leave the quarterback mic open all the time, and then he was in charge of all the other microphones. There were microphones on all the coaches, all the offensive line people, all the defensive people, the people that were up in the press box. There were cameras. Like I said, there must have been 30 cameras on this show. I could look up on my monitor wall, and I'm like, I can see these coaches in boxes. Everybody had their own POV camera. So what actually went home, I have no idea, because I'm just listening to the quarterback and what I'm sending out on my stem. So when you're watching it at home, obviously you get to hear whoever the announce team is, and then whatever they're talking about. And then because we're live, there's a person that's sitting there on a button, because there's lots of swearing that goes on, and obviously you can't do that in broadcast. Since these games are broadcast, you can't have those bombs go out over the air. So I am imagining that a lot of the time when you're sitting at home watching these games, you're not hearing anything. It either just mutes, or it's possible that they feed him a crowd mix, and they just, when they dump out, it just goes to crowd, because you don't get any announcers, you don't get anything. The way I understand it's put together. I don't know technically how it works down the line, but I'm at the head end basically as a submix. So I basically had 12 player microphones, 6 on each team, 4 parab mics, and the Skycam. I had mics on all of the cameras, but I was not allowed to open them because I would be late. By the time I heard the director call a camera, I would be late. So Michael takes care of all of that stuff. So basically, like I said, it was 4 parabs, 6 RF mics on each team, and the Skycam I could open occasionally.
But here's
would that be a good example?
I had no referee. I had no, none of those other microphones. I had to fax them all. I mean, I was sitting in front of a 144 fader desk. 140 faders on the surface, and that surface goes 12 layers deep.
Wow.
I mean, so can you imagine if you were ever, somewhere in the future where everything is all 5.1 or more? Just the horsepower that's inside of that Apollo desk.
Wow.
And it was probably the 6th time I've sat in front of one.
Well, that's 12 dozen.
Yeah, it's an amazing machine.
Wow.
I have a question for you now. Would it be an example of where a Dugan would come into place, or is the Dugan not fast enough to do that kind of switching?
For what? What would the Dugan be doing?
The Dugan would be, because people are talking all the time, so that it would be able to, just when the camera goes live on that person, then they would get that audio.
Maybe Michael's using a Dugan. I don't know. For me, I have no reason to, because I'm on the head end, right? So I don't. All I'm mixing is, generally I only open up 1 parab at a time, because if I open up more than one, you get this echo, right? Because the sound guy goes ready, set, hut, and one guy's 75 feet away and the other guy's 100 feet away. There's a time delay, so you're going to hear the echo between those mics. So I would never open more than 1 parab at a time. And the times that I did, there was a little bit of echo because I got a mic on the quarterback. And then when I would try to bring the parab in, there would get this echo because the parab's over on the sideline and I'm listening to him live on the wireless mic. So
same goes the same on whether they're near side to you with parabs or far side.
Exactly. So and then
Michael
has the additional problem of dealing with all the delays, because some cameras are hardwired, some cameras are RF, so you got to deal with delays and those things. Some when you put in the 1st and 10 line, that's another latency, so you got to deal with the delay of whenever they're doing any of that AI stuff on the field. I don't know if you call it AI stuff, but whatever. It's the 1st and 10 line or any of that other generated stuff that you see on the field. So he's got this. He told me that he had the A mixer come in and try to do his show once. He goes, "This show's harder than golf, and golf's a pretty hard show to mix from the A mixer side. Submixing golf was fun. I've done that a couple times. That's fun. Again, I'm on the head end, and all I got to do is follow wherever the lead is going." But yeah, dealing with all those delays and trying to keep the lip sync managed in our world today, especially doing everything as a Remy. I'm glad I'm at the end of my career.
Wouldn't you say that this would be so? Get Kurt, you go and then I'll go.
What kind of mic is in the helmet, and where and how is it mounted?
I have no idea. Because I was walked in on somebody else's show, I spent my entire setup day reverse. You can query the console to figure out where stuff's routed. So I just went through every fader and said, okay, where's this going? And then I made a list so that when I went to go do transmission and I had to fax all of those, I knew what track output that particular source had been assigned to by the guy who built the show. Otherwise, I would have had no idea. When he said, okay, go here, I would have had to look for it and then tone it from the source or I could have toned it from the track. But without a list, I would have had no idea what the tracks were. So, like I said, I spent my first setup day just interrogating the console and looking at the lists. I mean, there was 15 transmission paths with 16 channels of audio each.
Wow.
So it's a
You've
lot of
never
stuff.
actually looked at the helmet out of curiosity?
What's that?
You've never actually looked at the helmet just out of curiosity?
I never got. I only got to walk in the stadium for a little bit of time. These guys, I had
Yeah,
four
but you've done
A2s
other
on the
football
show.
before, right? I'm not talking about this particular gig. It's just in general. What do they use it and how do they mount it?
I would guess that they're probably using the QSCs, the little baby QSCs, and I don't think they're putting them in the helmets. I think they're putting them in the pads.
Well, if they're
At least
putting
that's
in
what
the
we do.
pads,
That's what we
that's
do
got to make a lot of noise.
That's what we do in hockey. Is they put them in the pads, and in baseball you put them in the guy's pocket, and then he just wears it underneath his jersey. But I'm
So
assuming
do
in
you need to
football,
use gates and limiters on that respect because of all the noise from the pads?
nope.
Not if you're on the front end. You don't process at all.
I don't know process at all. Yeah, just make sure the gains don't clip. That's all. That's all that's important. Keep your
Right.
signal noise ratio as best you can.
Well, that's good advice for everybody.
The real question, Fred, is: were you nice to the human mic stands, your parab guys? I'm just
absolutely,
saying,
absolutely.
As a parab guy, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I unfortunately I wasn't. I could talk to them, but they couldn't talk to me. On my show, I set it up where I give them all a comm, so we all have a communication. But on this, because they were wireless parabs, they basically gave them this thing called a boom cue, and I could reach up and hit a key and talk to them, but they couldn't hear the. Actually, I take that back. I think they could hear their own mic. They were using some sort of a modified preamp, so the mic would come into this preamp so that they could hear as a headphone amplifier into somehow, and then they mix the IFB receiver into that. I never saw it. There wasn't enough time. You only have so much on the day, and these guys are already in week 7 or week 8, so they had it down to a well-oiled machine. So I just let them go do their thing. Everything was all labeled, everything was all patched because the truck had already done a show. I basically just went in, hit load, and then just started reverse interrogating stuff. And then they came in and they go, "Okay, you ready to fax?" I'm like, "Yeah." All right, let's go.
Wow, very cool.
You guys want to take a?
Now we know why you get the big money. That's why. See, that's why you get the big money. There you go, right there.
You want to take a look at this rig before I have to sign off?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's look at it. Let me spot you. Give me a second. Let me spot you there, baby. Spotlight for everyone. There we go. Let's look at it. Wow, look at that.
So that's the 12 Deep Panther.
And how many of those again? How many are there hanging there?
12.
12 per side.
And then there's the 2100s and the MSL4.
You're frozen.
Yes, he's a little frozen, but you can see on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, his sub cabinets.
Right.
Well, actually, those are in his sub cabinets. Yeah, there.
Now it's back.
Yeah, there.
What's the show?
It's Bend, Oregon. It's an arena in Bend.
I've never heard of them. I've never heard of the band. It's okay.
No, it doesn't matter. Band is. He wants to know the venue.
Oh, it's Hayden Homes in Bend.
Okay, it's a beautiful venue. My God, look how beautiful it is.
Yeah, and then there's the X80s hanging as delays.
Nice.
Makes a huge difference.
Now, how do you get the signal to the X80s?
There's a second Galaxy, and it routes to there from front of house.
But what about the cabling, the ground cabling? How is there a way? How do you get the signal to it?
Oh, it's right out. Looks like it's right out the back door. Just
yeah.
It runs down the truss, and then into this trough.
Oh, okay. There you go.
and then it pops up out of a hole in the trunk, which I'm going to change the way that's located a little bit. But yeah, and it just stays here. It'll live here all season.
Very
They're
nice.
the weather protected ones. So, and then with the
Well, it
yoke, you
looks
can pan
beautiful, and
until
the
about how many
sky is
days.
as blue as you can get. Very nice venue.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's the old mill, which
Mhm.
is now the flagship REI store in Oregon. Those big
How cool is
smokestacks.
that?
This whole area used to be like a timber mills, and on the river's right on the other side of these trees. So people float by in rafts during the show.
Nice.
Very,
But
very
they can't
nice.
see.
Very, 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 very cool. Very, very, very cool. So, Fred, to go
I
back
gotta
to
jump off.
all
Thanks,
right,
Kurt.
Kurt, thanks for coming.
Take care, Kurt. See you later.
Thanks for the tour. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week.
So, Fred, where did they broadcast this game?
On Fox.
Okay. And so, but you don't, with all those cameras and all those microphones, it's what you see is what you get on the air. There's no way to, what do they call it when you have the ability to pick your own feed? What is that called?
Well, I don't think they do that on UFL. That I think for the Indy 500 they did that, where you could buy a
Pick your
package. I think you
driver,
get that
yeah.
through DirecTV or something, where they have all these extra channels where you can pick your own racer, and they take those cameras and that audio and they put them on those channels.
Like Sky Sports has that for F1.
Yeah.
But you got to have the Sky app. You're not going to get it over the air. That would be a nightmare over the air, or over the cable, or however you get your.
Yeah, I know. There's some football games. Like the few times I've worked at Cardinal games, if you're in the stadium, they have something called the Red Zone, and you could watch certain cameras and follow certain players around, and it's a specialty thing. But I don't think they do that in UFL. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Well, very good. Well, thanks for thanks for sharing all that with us.
What truck were you on?
Game Creek. I want to say titanium. That's not right though. It's a gridiron. It's a football term. Game Creek gridiron.
Did you have did they use in the UPS generator backup for the truck?
Yes. It was a dual
it's a
generator
twin
UPS thing.
It's a dual pack, and the front was just a UPS, whatever thing we feed in and feed out, and then the generator fed the thing if it went down.
I think so, yeah. It's 3 trucks. It's massive. It's massive.
I wonder what they do for F1. Are you going to be doing F1 this year?
No. This where I'm in Houma, Louisiana right now doing a medical show. This is my last gig, as far as I know, until I start college football on September 1st.
Vacation.
Very, very cool.
Hey,
very, very cool.
There is a documentary somewhere online with the F1, how they did production and everything. It's all in containerized. It fits in 747.
Yeah.
And they bring their own tent, and there's even one like a forklift pad or whatever there that has all the antennas on it. They put on a 60-foot lull and all that stuff. So it's pretty interesting in how they do snap it all together and flip it up.
Yeah, golf's the same way. They take this huge crane and throw it out there for all the antennas and stuff. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, golf's got to be a pain in the ass just for the sheer geography of it. Yeah.
It is. It's literally one of the harder sports to deal with, because everything, you have hardline cameras at the tees and greens, but everything else is RF. So trying to sync all that stuff up is it's nuts.
All I know about F1, and that's from the DPA microphone manufactured directly, is that they are using DPA microphones to record the sound of the revving engines, and same with MotoGP. Now, funny part is none of the MotoGP or F1 will admit it, just like DPA will not admit it as well, because they have some sort of weird agreements. But it's DPA microphones. That's all I know.
Yeah, they're F1 microphones. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Very
Anyway,
cool.
moving
This has
along,
been
moving
informative
along.
today.
Moving
sorry,
along. I
Nick.
just want to. I just moving along. I really want to cover one more thing. If actually, there's a couple of things I want to bring up. I know we're at the end of our time broadcasting out live, but I wanted to say R.I.P. to Rick Derringer. I mean, we just lost somebody else. Moving on and R.I.P. What an amazing career he had, even though you might not know it. So do your own research on that. Another thing, RIP to free baggage on Southwest. What
What?
the hell?
What?
So
You
on the
didn't
Rick
hear
Derringer
this?
thing, I put up
Yes.
a link, the YouTube link to Cyndi Lauper in Paris, which was recorded, I think, in 1987, of which Rick Derringer is playing guitar in her band.
Right.
And it is, if you've never seen it, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
All the way through, the whole band.
I'll
I've
throw
got
that
a-
up on YouTube.
I've got
Yes,
an
but-
interview with Rick Derringer that I found. I thought that's what you put up. That's fascinating. He's talking. I'm going to put it up and you should watch it. It's Rick Derringer talking about his life and how he got started and how the McCoys came about and Hang On Sloopy and all of that stuff. It's a great interview. I was watching it beforehand. I'm only halfway through. So I'm going to put it in the chat now that
He's such a wonderful man. He played at the Agoras a lot. So, and then in the mid '70s, there was always it was always a triple bill. There was Aerosmith, Montrose, and Derringer. Foghat, Styx, and Derringer.
And Derringer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, Rick played a lot in that time, and he's just he was the greatest guy that and just what a sad it was very sad when I heard that.
Well, no one lives forever. No one lives forever, and I'm glad that we had a chance. And speaking of the bags on Southwest, moving along like that, yeah, Southwest just announced that, according to the Wall Street Journal and Reuters, nearly all passengers flying on Southwest will need to now pay, listen to this, $35 for a check bag, and if you have two bags, an additional $45. So the way I read it, so 35 and 45. Holy hell, man!
Well,
It's
it's cheaper.
$80.
It's cheaper than everybody else. I think check bags on American are 50.
Yeah, but
What?
it just goes to say, not too long ago, wasn't Southwest not bought but heavily invested by capital investment groups? Like, I don't want to say venture capitalists because they're not, that would be the wrong phrase. But, I read an article where they were saying that, here come the capitalist group and they're just squeezing every dollar that they can out of that company now.
Well, I heard that if you have the Southwest credit card,
yeah,
it's free. So
or you have enough points in there, whatever their reward.
I have enough points. I'm not going to have to pay for another year. I get free bags because Hotel
But
California.
you do a lot of traveling, that's for sure.
And Hotel California use Southwest all the time because of the free bags. And now they're putting me on American Airlines because I have free bags on American. But we'll
Thinking about tickets, I've heard you, Jan, talking earlier about booking tickets and going to Skyscanner and Google Flights. Here's one of the reasons why your prices jumped up overnight, because your computer is actually being tracked by the website and it detects that you've been looking for specific flights on specific routes. So next time you log in, they actually give you a higher price because now they see your interest that you still are looking at those particular routes.
Grab your cookie. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to use either VPN to make your computer pretend that it's in a different location, and that's a different machine, or completely block your IP address and log in on the website in an anonymous mode.
Actually, you're 100% correct. I found this out. There's this woman. Her name is Vivian. I believe it's Vivian 2, and she calls herself your best friend, your BFF, and Wall Street girly. I love her. She's really
That sounds very dangerous.
What she
You're
said.
a
I don't know
married
about you,
man.
but
What?
You're a
No,
married
I'm
man.
serious. Yeah, but she's great. She gives tips on money. She was a broker at Wall Street, and she's got it. I mean, I love her podcast. She's a very informative. And one thing that she said, which I never knew about this, is that if you should use a VPN when you check travel prices and do it from different countries because you can get a cheaper price on the same flight depending on where you look at the price from. I never knew that.
I'll call my parents in Poland and say, hey, can you look at the prices from Los Angeles to Warsaw on, I don't know, July 2nd or 3rd? And they will tell me the price that they see in dollars. And I'll tell them, okay, I'm seeing $150 higher price than you guys. Right. And I oftentimes let my friends book tickets for me and I just make them a transfer.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you a great VPN. There's two VPNs there's three VPNs I use. One is called, not necessarily in order. Number one is Tailscale. Tailscale is by far very amazing, but you need an exit mode. So that it's limited. But for me, I have an exit mode in Las Vegas. So when I log on, I'm in Las Vegas. I'm out of my house. Another VPN which I use is Surfshark and Private Internet Access, which PIA. I use that as well. And the reason I picked those two is because I am paying a little bit extra on both of them for a dedicated VPN, which basically means I have a VPN now. Now PIA has a VPN, dedicated VPN that shows I'm in Las Vegas, and Surfshark shows that I'm in Los Angeles. However, they have multiple locations, and you could pop in between wherever you want. Anywhere in the world, I could be. As far as my computer knows or the internet knows, I could be anywhere in the world at any time, traveling faster than the speed of light. But yeah, clear your browser, clear your cookies, and then go back and look at the sites. So there you go.
I hope that the immigration did not listen to your confession right now, because that sounded very interesting.
Yeah,
I'm not doing it. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not breaking any laws, although I'm bending them,
The other thing, an easy trick is to just flip your browser into incognito mode.
That helps so much. That still does not block your location.
It doesn't.
Well, no, that's for sure. I agree with that. But on Jan's particular situation, he was in the same location, same setup, and he logged in to the same website on 2 different days, and he had a $500 jump in his price because they caught him being there.
Oh, you crack me up. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of suckers, so here's the interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. In case you didn't know, they're going to be discontinuing the penny. And the reason why, listen to this, the penny, which is only worth 1 cent, costs the government 3.69 cents to make, right? 3.96 cents to make. And the nickel, guess what? The nickel, worth 5 cents, it costs the government 13.78 cents to make. So you could be pretty sure that they're going to be discontinuing the penny and the nickel. And we will start with the dime, where they start making money. A dime costs only 5.76% cents to make. The quarter, which is worth 25 cents, cost the government only 14.68 cents. So they're making money on that. And the 50-cent piece cost them 33.97 cents to make. So there you go. That's
How
the
much
cost of
for
making money.
$100 bill?
Probably free.
Depending how good is your printer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, did you see
Yeah,
there was a very interesting security incident reported. I don't know if you guys saw this. So, a long story short, photocopiers, most photocopiers have a hard disk. And when you send a job to the photocopier or you scan something and print it, it actually saves that image to the disk. And then it simply gets kind of erased by the operating system, but it can be very, very easily recovered. So this investigative reporter went out and bought like 6 used copy machines for $200 each, got the hard disks out of them, and forensically recovered all of the information off the hard disks. And it was absolutely wild what they found. One of them was from a healthcare company, and they had all, private healthcare records with people's names and addresses and social security numbers, all of it. So if you ever get rid of your photocopier, make sure you rip the disk out, format it, and then put it back in.
I wonder how many pictures of butts that they saw.
So that was like a big news story about 10 years ago, where people were doing that, were buying copiers, and it's a picture of everything they copied.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it kind of makes sense. So you say you want 50 copies of the same thing. So it stores the image, and why move that bar over 50 times, but just take it from the hard drive.
That's right.
Yeah, but it could be one at a time, not thousands of them in memory.
Oh yeah, no, I mean everything you do gets written out to the disk, and then and in theory, a lot of it can be recovered. So pretty awful.
Yep. Well, anyway, listen, I want to thank everybody for watching, if you've been watching us, Thinking Out Loud with Friends of SoundBroker. This is 261 consecutive episodes of us getting together over the last few years, and it's been wonderful, and I'm continuing it. So just so you know, I want to thank you very much. Remember to click the like button, share the show, talk about it with your friends, and we will see you again next week. But before we do that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to see if there's anybody at all in the room that wants to say anything to anybody live before we go into the room and talk about whatever we want to talk about that you can't hear. So is there anybody that wants to say anything right now for the public?
I went to see Mission Impossible, and I got to say, it's the way they used to make movies. I was so blown away by this movie. It was.
Oh, this is the latest. It's like the last one.
Final Reckoning.
Final Reckoning.
I gotta say, man, it's one of the most exciting, well done. You can tell they spent a fortune making this movie.
$400 million.
Everything about it is spectacular. I can't.
Has it been generally released yet? I don't even know.
Oh yeah, it came out Friday, this past weekend.
Oh, okay.
You want to hear something humorous? It came out. There were 2 movies that came out at the same time: Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible. And Lilo and Stitch did more box office gross than Mission Impossible. There you go.
By a lot. By a lot, like 370 million to 200 million.
Yeah, because everybody took their kids. That's why,
That's right.
And then the kids like to go back to the movies multiple times.
So anyway,
I'd say it's interesting that you mentioned that, David, because just last night I was watching the documentary about how Tom Cruise was doing his stunts over there, especially the motorcycle jumping off the ramp, and how many takes it took them to jump the parachute from the airplane, and how many test flights and adjustments to finally have this perfect scene when he jumps up, lets go of the motorcycle and releases the parachute. And the reaction of the crew was recorded on that documentary. And it's hilarious to see those people's reaction, like, He made
Yeah.
it.
But that was
Everybody's
the-
just
man,
amazed.
He's an animal. Tom Cruise is an animal.
yeah.
I mean,
He's wild.
what an
He's
adrenaline
absolutely-
drunkie he
that
is.
was the last movie. That's not even this movie. This movie, he's hanging from an airplane. Two World War II biplanes. Completely.
wow.
It's just amazing what he does.
Yeah, I'm amazed on how much it must cost to have insurance for this guy. You know, it's just must be off the hook.
He
But
probably owns an insurance company.
Matt Damon tells a funny story about Tom Cruise when he was doing that movie up on the building where he was
The Verge.
where he says he'd been thinking about this shot for 20 years. He wanted to get the shot, so he's talking with the safety guy on the movie. And he tells the safety guy his plan, and the safety guy says, "Nah, you can't do that." And so Matt Damon says, "So what'd you do?" He says, "I got another safety guy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy's an animal.
When you see this movie, the first name of who owns the movie is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
It's his
Oh yeah,
movie.
yeah. He has a motorcycle. He has Steve McQueen's Indian motorcycle, which he drives around a lot. But he had a motorcycle made. I think it's called a Victory. That it was tailor made to his body. Tailor made to his body. You know,
Yep.
can't imagine how expensive that is. But anyway, it's a great movie. Mission Impossible. The only thing I will tell you that you have to suspend your belief system, because especially in the scene with the submarine, I'm not going to give a spoiler, but that the filming of that submarine scene is beyond off the hook. But you realize that it is impossible. Mission Impossible.
I just don't know how I can do that, Jan, because all of the other ones I didn't have to suspend my disbelief.
Well, I'm not really.
Submarine.
I have to tell you, it's not really me. I'm Tom Cruise.
The submarine thing, they actually have built their own tank or their own aquarium for that purpose. Yeah. Just out of.
Thanks for sharing. Hey,
Yep.
well, everybody, we're going to stay in the room. If you want to join us, just DM any one of us and we'll send you the link. You could be part of the panel. Remember, you make it happen. Have a great week, and we'll see you again next week because you make it happen. Till then.